Kuf Mem Daled. The subject of this siman is Kavod HaTzibur. And I don't know what to say about Kavod HaTzibur because we live in a time where Kavod in itself is not even understood. Forget about being expressed. And I'll just say as follows: in the Shiva of Kellen, so the Aron Kodesh was very high, and to get down the Sefer Torah, someone would have to go like on a step stool to get up there to get the Sefer Torah down. And there was the Bocher who make sure the step stool is always there in time. And one time he forgot, and he just ran up there, took another 3 seconds to get the Sefer Torah where it's supposed to be. And the Alter gave a whole shmooze about the Bittul Zman for all the Bochrim, Kuf Mem Daled, all the Bochrim in the yeshiva that they had to wait. And besides the Kavod HaTorah and the Kavod HaTzibur, they have people wait. It's a terrible thing. So I don't know, people nowadays, I don't know if they know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe if you're down to 620 Minyan, you'll know that there's such a thing. You come to Minyan. I'll just make this statement right now since it's not negated to anything. I don't know how people, if they know that they're the 10th man, and they can take their time and have another 9 people wait for them so that they finish their Psukei de Zimra and they finish everything, and they know they're going to have other people wait for them. I'm not sure which one I have a more difficult time understanding. When there's a minyan, and because they're davening by themselves, they end up davening to the Hilchos because they're living in their own world. Or when they're davening and the whole tzibur has to wait for them, I just don't get it. I don't get it. How can a person be insensitive to the needs of others? So, you want, and then you're going to want to say that you want the schar from Yudasar Rishonim. Also, you want the schar from Yudasar Rishonim, even though that you made the other 9 guys wait around, so you were crossing your way to the men, and therefore you were late. Anyways, this is an idea of you're not allowed to be Megalgal and Sefer Torah or Megalgal the Navi because of Kavod HaTzibur. Now, even if they know that they're going to do it, we are going to touch on the subject which we discussed in the past, this idea of can the tzibur be moichel. Anybody remember that we discussed that? Oh, anybody? Okay. What? Yeah, but we discussed if you could have a cotton be an oiler, or whatever it is. It's chusa. It covered when it say Kavod HaTzibur, does it really mean the covenant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's shara v'toich tzibur, or does it mean the people of tzibur they can vote and say that we're mavater? That's what we discussed the machlekes of Chodesh and the Taz beforehand. If you don't remember, so it's not worth reminding you. Look it up. So in the Gimel, and so over here we had it recently. So let's see over here the halacha. Now, I don't know how many people pay attention, but the Haftarah is supposed to reflect that which is learned in the Parshas HaShavua. How important is it that it should reflect the Parshas HaShavua? When I say not so important, what's my biggest raya that it's not so important? Mocha Chodesh. What do you say? There are exceptions, yeah, but we have to know. But Mocha Chodesh is a very shvach ha'maisa. Just because tomorrow's Bishlema when it's Shabbos or Chodesh, and you say something for today, no, Mamela, I can live with that, so to speak. But Mocha Chodesh, one of the things that the minig was in the olden times is that if there was a chassan, there was a haftarah for a chassan. If we ever get there, Mishnah Berurah, maybe we'll learn about that. There's a haftarah special about haftarah or chassan. No, not only I wasn't invited to the chasana, I have to change my haftarah because of him. You want to be parted from tachlu? It goes together, right? So it's part of the tzibur. So the Mishnah Berurah is going. The halacha here tells us that even when they didn't have a whole haftarah, sometimes they would scrounge around. That's the introduction over here, and discussion of whether the tzibur can be mevater. Sif Beis. Noagi b'Shabbos sheyesh b'chosen loimer achar haftarah. And what is it? Discuss what haftarah means. Yeshun shulad ein maftir achar Pesach. V'nyan siluk loimer siluk til shachris. When is Shachris over? Okay. If I'd be a wise guy, I'd ask if you're Ashkenaz or Sfard. But Kriyas HaTorah is part of Shachris?
No. Because we do Shir Shalom before then.
All of these rayas I don't like. There's a much better raya. And then I'm going to slug up the raya, maybe. When do you say Kaddish Tistkabel?
After Voltzion.
And what's it going on?
The Shacharis. That ends the Shacharis.
Then the Shacharis. So what does that mean? That Kriyas HaTorah is part of Shacharis. What's the raya that I just said is wrong? Maybe.
We just closed up Shachris.
What?
We just closed up Shachris.
How do you know when do we close up Shachris before Kriyas HaTorah?
On Shabbos.
What do you do on Rosh Chodesh? Chanukah, after Hallow.
Kaddish Shalom.
Except for Hanukkah. Hanukkah is only Chatzi Kaddish.
And on Rosh Chodesh?
Kaddish Shalom. Only because there's Musaf.
So where does the Kriyas HaTorah fit in?
I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but in essence, Kriyas HaTorah is a hefsek.
What?
Kriyas HaTorah is really is mafsik. It's mafsik the Shachris. You got to the Shachris.
What?
Well, it's something is added to the Shacharis that the other times of the week it's not even there. So it's like, well, it's mafsik the end of the. It's like mafsik the end. It prevents the end of the Shacharis. It goes, in between.
Well, listen, I want to tell you something. I think that mathematically, Chazal could have kept us in shul the exact same amount of time if it put it after Shacharis, right?
A lot of people would leave.
A lot of people would leave.
A lot of people leave.
Okay, I can't argue with you about that. But I will tell you that I think that if I was Chazal, I'd probably disagree with you and say, yeah, Kriyas HaTorah after Shachris, you'll have more people stay for the Shir Shal Yom, etc.
I disagree.
You disagree?
Especially in the morning when people have to go to work and that type of thing. They're rushing out.
I understand. I understand. So what are they leaving? So they leave by Asher Volotzion, right?
Right. A lot of times they exactly. Unfortunately, that's a big part of the Shacharis.
I understand. Yeah. Anyways, well, we can't really argue about something that we can't prove, so we're not going to continue this argument. It's not really important. But the end of the day is that you see that it was sort of incorporated into Shachris. You see from Chanukah and Rosh Chodesh that sometimes it's in, sometimes it's out, but it's definitely not part of Shachris. You could make it part of Shachris, but it's not part of Shachris. What? Right. Okay, all right. So why are we discussing this right now? Anyway, so the Haftarah is the end of Siluk Tefillah Shachris. So what does the Ramah say over here? That Kriyas HaTorah is part of Shachris. Okay. So what did they do after they finished the Haftarah? They say Shtay B'Shlosh Psukim Haftarah, which is the Chosin's Haftarah. Kishachar Rosh Chodesh Yom Rishon Achar Maftin Haftarah Shabbos Amim. Now, in our shul, so far, we're working on it. One of the dreams that we have is that we're going to have a Navi in our shul. And I'm not talking about a live one. I'm talking about one that you lane out of, okay? Maybe you have a Navi too, Mashiach should come to our shul, but leaving that alone, we're going to have a mitzvah, have a Navi, but and a Navi, you lane from one place, and there you have a problem of skipping around. When you lane from a Chumash, so it's very easy because they're pages, so you can go from the beginning to the end with just a flip. And you don't have to scroll through the whole deal. So this is what the Mishabur is going to discuss over here.
Sorry, Rav, someone told me that if I understood properly, that the Sibor is not Yotze about the reading of the Navi from Chumash, that they've got to read along with the Shlich Sibor to be Yotze. Is that a Chum or is that Ikradin?
I'm not sure I can answer that question. When I say I'm not sure I can answer that question, is according to some it's Mikradin, according to some it's a Chumrah. So it's a it's you know what? 1 second. We might as well just take a look at that because if you go to Chassidish shul, so it's quiet and everybody just runs through it. I don't know how you call it exactly. What do they do? And everybody says it. Everybody says it together. Here we go. Maftirim benovi. Vatam mipnei shapal machas gozu gzer al yisrael shelo yisasku b'Torah. The Kohen Nevi'im shiva bercho aleim keneged shiva shal yitzichim mikos b'Torah. There was only gzer against the Torah shebeksav, so they did it in the Navi. V'lo yekoren kol echad pachas mishal shepsukim or yikulam mes shepsukim l'chein alabi shal gzer batla minig lebatla mishtamoki tiknu shemaf yikra b'Navi. Okay. Over here. No, it should be over here. Here we go, Dalit. Here. Kosa Balavush, Shamati Ashaloi Reisi Noagim Lichtav Haftaras Kedin Sefer. That they don't write the Haftaras like a Sefer. Kihoya Nirali She'en Yoitzin Klab Bekriyas Haftara B'Chomashim Ad Prasim. You're not Yoitzin. Even She'en Lichtav B'Chol Hilchos Sefer Torah, Megillah, Vataz Avagad Avram Yishua Minik. So what does he say? That you're Yaitzer. You should have, like we have here in the shul, we have a Sefer Haftaras, but that's a bad thing to call it because the Sefer Haftaras is one that just has Haftaras. It's a Tanakh that just has the places that you lay the large letters. You know, the rest of it they do small. The Gamke Dasal Yerabah Ayin Sham Mikomokom Elohim Rak Haftarah Hadnitves B'Chumash Yesh Lismoch V'Lahakel Shalalavat L'Kriyas Haftarah. So what does it say? Yesh Lismoch V'Lahakel. What does that mean?
The cooler that one's Yotze, I guess. That's why I understand it.
Now, 1 second. Could you please answer your question? Is it a halacha or is it a chumrah?
My understanding from what Rav just said, it's a chumrah.
Do you agree with that?
If it's a chumrah, then
He says you could be makel, but it means it's below desired. It's not above desired. It's about, I don't know. So you asked me a question. I don't really know how to answer that question. Is halacha or chumrah? I don't know. Somebody he's relying on the opinions that are makel. What do you say, Dr. Cohn? Is that called a chumrah or halacha? You don't want to get involved. Okay.
You just sort of have to test the baseline.
I would call it a kula.
It's called a kula.
I'd call it kula.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the tzibur is saimech on a kula.
I mean, I didn't.
That's fine, but that's the minig in Klal Yisrael is saimech on this kula. Now, does that make it a kula or does that make it halacha? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question because I don't know. There is an answer to that question. Now, somebody will ask me, being makbid on chodosh, a chumrah or a kula to be makel. I don't know the answer. I don't know how to answer these questions. I can tell you clearly what the minig is. All right. Anyways, let me just finish off this piece. You should have one. That's what Roy v'nochon. Okay, you want to translate those words? Does that sound like chumrah?
Appropriate, one would say.
What?
Appropriate, I think it's
So
appropriate.
so that means if you're not doing it, so you're not being appropriate. Does that mean that you're doing the halacha? It's hard to answer that question. I don't really know. I don't know how to answer it in those words.
All I know, Rav, that when all these years I lived in England, I don't remember ever seeing a shul that read the Haftorah from a klaf. And when I've been to Israel, like sometimes I've davened at a Hasidic shul, and there they don't even read the Haftorah. There's no shlich sipper reading the Haftorah. Everyone reads it on their own from a chumash. So I see all kinds of different minhagim.
What are you doing in such places? What are you doing in such places?
Right.
You're not
Around
going
a
to
bit.
confess Barabbas. So that's fine. It could very well be that what they do is better than what they do in this shul, actually. If you really want to know. Because according to some, you can't be mitzi anybody with a printed thing. So what the chassidim do is the person is mitzi with the brachas and everybody reads it themselves. It could be what they're doing is actually better than what we're doing. I want you to know something. I read it by myself. Not only that, my father, he always read it by himself from his seat with the Tanakh. That's how he did it. But anyways, I still don't know the answer to your question. If it's a chumrah or kula, you're still unable to answer. Anyway, let's just finish this off because it's actually important. All those people. Now, says the Sharatzion, I'm going to read this, a very important Sharatzion. What the actual halacha about the Haftarah from a klaf is, there's a lot of discussion. Okay? Ein limchos biyad hanoakim lahakel. Lev, what do we say? What do we for? It's a chula chumrah. I don't know what you say. No? Why? Do bichlal eis lasas Hashem. We have no choice. V'kasha l'chol tzibur lichtov neviim b'klach kedim. And it's difficult for people to be makayim this halacha properly. Aval b'vadai tzibur shayecholis b'yodam yesh lehem lichtov neviim kedim. That's a directive that's what they should do. Now listen to this is the most important part of the Sharatzion. Ubeprat b'yomeinu nowadays shemefazim harbe kesef al tachshite Beis HaKnesses. They waste money on marble. She'ein nochutz kol kach v'kavanos l'shem shamayim, and they really want to do is they want to glorify Hashem's name. כדי לקיים זה כלי ואבהו, ובוודאי מצווה לשנאוס בכסיבס נביאים הקדושים. You want to make a zekeli vambeo, instead of making a golden chandelier, make yourself a set of neviim. Okay, this is an appeal. Anyways, that's what it says. Why is everybody laughing? Anyways, that's what it says in the Mishnah Berurah as far as it's concerned. So I really am sorry. I apologize. I can't answer your question. I don't know if it's a chumrah or a kula. It's still, I don't know how to answer that. What do you say? Yechiel, kula chumrah?
Well, at the end, he said, don't be moicha on the mekilim.
So what does that mean?
Sounds like we are relying on a kula.
Right. That's the minig is, but that's what the minig is. That's accepted minig in Klal Yisrael.
An ace lasais. When we do an ace lasais, so that's how we run. Yeah.
Right. So but it's not. It's hard to answer the question. I'm not really sure I know the answer. Anyway,
maybe there's more. Maybe there's more room. Maybe there's more room to be lenient because I understand the chiyuv to read the Haftorah is on the sibor rather than the individual, and it's also somewhat less of a chiyuv than reading the Torah itself.
Therefore,
there's room to be more lenient, that perhaps allow people to be yotze by listening to someone else read it for them from a printed book.
There definitely is room to be makel, but that's still room to be makels. But being that kula is the accepted practice in all Klal Yisrael, so people assume that somebody who does the proper thing is a machmer. So that's what happens. It gets misconstrued.
I mean, I've tried at certain times, a certain period, I tried to be machmir, going to shul where they're reading Haftorah from a Tanakh, and I've tried to read along with them, but especially the language of the Haftorahs from the Nevi'im is often quite difficult words and so on, and I find it absolutely impossible to keep up with the person that's with the reader. So I'm like, I'd like say it's 25 lines, I'm up to line 14 and he's already making the brachas after the reading. So I don't feel I'm really gaining anything.
I sometimes daven in a minyan like that. So what are you trying to say though?
I'm trying to say that if I'm trying to, the Rav said personally that the Rav reads along with the Balkora when he's reading the Haftorah.
That's if you can. If you can, so we should listen.
Right. I mean, I cannot read. My reading skills are not so good.
I wasn't talking to you, so to speak. I was saying that that's an idea. If a person can't do it, he can't do it. That's fine. You can only do what you can do. You should also maybe practice it in advance. It shouldn't be the first time you see it when you're in shul. I'll just tell you, I spoke to a Baal Kaira recently, a yeshiva guy, and in the world of yeshivas, Navi, and it's not like from the big subjects that I learned. And I asked something, and he was like rattling off what it says in Navi. I said, "How do you know that?" So he looked at me very sheepishly, and he said, "I'm a Baal Kaira, and I think that it's below passable to learn something that you have no idea what you're talking about. So before I say I'm Kaira Baravim, I learn it over with a Mefarish, so I should know what's going on." How's that for a nice idea?
Very good.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, let's continue over here. So it says as follows. Siv Gimel. Ein goylin sefer Torah b'tzibur mipnei kol ha'tzibur. You're not goylo. V'mein lahem ela sefer Torah echad. V'hem tzrichim likros shnei inyonim. They only have one sefer. So if I was one writing Shulchan Aruch, I would never even say this whole sif. Wait! Why do we have to wait? Why aren't you prepared? What does that mean? Be prepared.
Sometimes the government mistake and forgot to change from a Chodesh. You have to.
We don't. If you would be in the army and you make these kind of mistakes, you lose your head, right? I mean, the olden times, right? So that's cool that you're not taking it serious. What you're supposed to be doing. So second. So now the question is, which is a worse thing to do? To have the tzibur wait or to forgo the laning? So you know what, Gil, if you would be right, so this halacha and Shulchan Aruch is superfluous. So I want to tell you something. I'm going to make a personal attack on you. When I started off today's shir, I said people nowadays have no musig of kavod or kavod atzibur, and I said they come late to all kinds of things. Right? That's what I said today when we started off. Were you here when I said that? You know why? The same reason you're late is because the same reason you don't understand the halacha. Just imagine. I'm not picking on you. This is a issue with today's generation that they really have no real understanding of what kavod is. But that you could have a tzibur wait. That's like a gefährliche thing. If you're having a tzibur wait and it could have been avoided, that is a pagam in your.
But you can't avoid if you have a single set of Torah.
So sometimes you say, but to make people wait. So that's which one wins out. Maybe it's not proper to have the tzibur wait and be mevater and not late.
Mishnah is you when Yom Kippur, they would say about pen after not to make people wait.
All right, and I'm saying that's what they read the halacha, and that's the halacha read. So just pointing that out. And God said and if they have no choice, then not like I would say. If I was the one writing Shulchan Aruch, and being that we're going to learn from the Torah, the kavod atzibur is to wait. No. That's a thing. That's because you don't understand that kavod atzibur is a real klaf. 100%. I agree with you 100%. That's why it's important to learn these halachas. I have to understand what it really means, what kavod atzibur really is. Okay. You can have someone go to the side and be megoya gailit. Take it out there and suck it a zimra, and they're going to the Sefer Torah if they forgot to do it beforehand. If they kavod atzibur, that they're waiting around. That's a bizarre for the tzibur to have the tzibur waiting around. That's two totally different things. What should be the option? Do the maftir balpeh or b'chumash. Why? The mistam atzibur moichlem al k'voyle k'lekayim kriyas maftir kedin. So what did he say? Gil, I'm picking on you. Nothing personal. What did he say?
There are ways of avoiding the issue for the tzibur, but the tzibur would be more the coming to not have to have this.
But what he said is right. But what he said is that really kavod tzibur is more important than the maftir. But we'll say that the tzibur is moichel the kavod and you lay the maftir. Unbelievable! Isn't that an unbelievable mishabura?
But for the regular kriya, they're not moichel.
Zero. I missed. You started in the middle of the sentence.
Because he starts off by saying you're not goylo, right? Because of kavod tzibur.
Right. But
So
if you
that
have
means
no choice,
Wait, I'm saying, but we had a choice. The Gabayim or whoever it is messed up. And now here we are, and those are the, oh, we forgot. So what
so
is the
now what do
halacha?
you do for the oven? So you have a choice. So the halacha is that you're koilo, and we say that the tzibur is moichal kvoidom.
So that's even if it wasn't a Yom Tov or a Shabbos or Shchodesh or something, a regular week.
Correct. Correct. But
I don't think it's a drasha during the roll.
all right. And that's a time to give a drasha.
No, that way you're not losing any time.
Yeah, okay, fine. But that's a stopgap measure. That's not what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but if they're doing it, then I don't know, whatever you can do to they should say till them. I don't know what you should do, and that's a different issue. But the bottom line is that they have people wait is a serious issue. I will just say that since somebody over here, I don't remember, somebody asked about the Haftarahs, there's a big discussion in many shuls. They don't have a Navi, and they get a Navi from some other place, and sometimes it gets like lost in shipping, and you have to wait around for it to come. So there's a big machlekes between today's poskim as to how long you can hold the tzibur to wait for a Navi to come. And there are some that say you wait, one say going for a Sefer Torah, and others that say you only wait 5 minutes. There's a whole discussion on that issue. Anyways,
But
all right.
I don't understand. Didn't the Mechaber say that we're not going to Sefer Torah if it's a regular Shabbos and they just messed up?
No. What the Mechaber said was that in order to do this minig of having for a chassan, etc., we're not going to. Which shiv are you talking about, Gimel or Bay?
Gimel.
What does it
We're
say?
going to Sefer Torah b'tzibur m'pnei kvod hatzibur. Period.
That means that's
But
not what you're supposed to do. That's not what you're supposed to do.
Right. So that means you missed the laning.
That doesn't say that. It says make sure it doesn't happen.
Mm.
Hello, you're with me, Yechiel?
No, I hear. I'm saying, right. I didn't see that. I just saw that the
You
Mishnah
see it now? It doesn't say. You could read it like you're saying, but it doesn't say that. All right, Siv Dalin. And current, this is a fascinating idea again. We're very concerned about what people are going to say about a Sefer Torah. We don't want people to say Sefer Torah is puzzle. And current the other Mechel B'Shnei Sefer Torah Mishum P'Gamoy Shorishon, because they're going to give a guy an aliyah in the second sefer. We already gave him an aliyah today. So why are you giving him an aliyah in the second sefer? It must be that lady from the first sefer was no good. So you're giving him a consolation prize, another aliyah. So therefore, we don't allow you to give one guy 2 aliyahs in 2 different storms. That would theoretically mean, though, if it was in one sefer, it wouldn't be a problem. Aber Shleisha Gavri v'Shleisha Svarim, Kigoy Rosh Chodesh Tevet Shechalios b'Shabbos Leka Mishum Pagam. Why? Because you're just giving each person a different aliyah. It doesn't have any mashmos that you're making a pagam on a sefer Torah b'chol. All right. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Bein minyanecha bein b'shnei yonim kigoy Shabbos Rosh Chodesh v'Yom Tov. The dinu shekar ma'avtim b'sefer acher. Haniglo mikvar was already prepared. We have everything prepared. We don't have shvi, or if we'll be on yontif, you don't have shishi, chamishi, dum after. Why? It looks like we're saying the first Sefer Torah was no good. Ela Yiglo Sefer Torah Rishayna what do you do if you don't have anybody that can read? So which is a bigger pagam? Have the tzibur wait, or have people say the Sefer Torah is possible? That's a bigger pagam. That's correct. So what we do is we have the first guy who stand there, begin with the first Sefer Torah, and don't use the second Sefer Torah. Someone said something?
No, I just coughed. But I wanted to ask about Kavod Sibor. We had a Corona minion for Rosh Hashanah, and they did not have a Sefer Torah. No, they didn't have a Sefer Torah until later on in the day. So what they did, they decided to do the Kriyas Torah after Musaf. Maybe because it's a B'diavad situation, that was no problem.
What was their choice?
The choice was, just waiting, I don't know, an hour and a half after Shacharis, however long it takes for Sefer Torah to come. They didn't have one.
That's not called a choice.
Right. And another occasion, I was in a different minyan, not in Abba Shalom, another part of Beit Shemesh, Shabbos afternoon, Mincha Gedola. There was a minyan, but the Aron HaKodesh was locked, and the Gabbai had, not got up on time or something like that. And while a kid or something like that was sent to fetch him, there was a discussion. Let's go and daven Mincha now, do the Shemon Esrei, and we'll have the Kriyas Torah after Mincha. Would that have been permissible? In the end, they didn't do it.
It's permissible b'diavad. That's a discussion on that in today's forum. But that's how long to wait? These are serious questions because the Kriyas Torah is supposed to have its place. It's supposed to be read where it's supposed to be read. Okay, and I just want to finish up.
We had that in Abba Shalom also. That same kid.
Yeah, we used to have a problem with those that didn't unlock.
Right.
One
I
time
remember being at a mincha, and we couldn't get to the Sefer Torah. We had to get one from another shul.
Yeah, when that time, it happened once when we were across the street. The ones here that I recall. At that time, we weren't sure where we'd get a Sefer Torah from. No, it wasn't even like we had it, Misudar Lanu, because the place we were going to get it from, I think we ended up getting it from Bristol, which was across the street. So they were really davening. I remember there was some problem with them when they were davening, when we were davening. I don't remember exactly what the hitch was, but it wasn't such a simple thing to do. All right.
In general, in these cases, if the kahal seems to be okay with waiting around, no one's complaining.
So that has to do with what we learned the last time. Is it up to the kahal to say that we're moichel on our kavod or not? So the most of the Achronim say in this situation, the kahal has the right to be moichel. But that's the question. What the idea of kavod tzibur? If it's up to the tzibur, or if really the kavod of Kadosh Baruch Hu. No, it's like you're making a Kadosh Baruch Hu wait around. Okay. So here the question is, what about having somebody who is not the last guy, who was from 3 aliyahs ago? So you give another aliyah, no one's going to think that there's a psul in Sefer Torah because it's disconnected. So he brings over here a machlokes. The Bach asers chevet tzad el yirava v'dino mitav that kati yamro denoy the atum psul shel Sefer Torah rishon lekach kol acheres. Let's say maybe you just found out about a psul that was there before and therefore should be doing. The Simchas Torah. Mitzara el Yerabba, Diesh Lahaka Vazeh, on Simchas Torah, one can be Mekel, Kabbagan Abram, the Mutalikas Chassan Torah, Bracious, the Misha Alek Farbe, Sefer Torah Rishon, Machwas, Diesh Lahoid, Snipil Mahat Yisham. There's other, on Simchas Torah, there's other reasons to allow it to be done. The Klasa Gav Vitosh Svarim, who I didn't trade Gav Trey Svarim, that one is allowed to do it. Shachal is Shabbos. Sheikh Akari Yana Shal Yom Yom, Vasheni Bishal, Vashchaish Shishi Shal Chanukah Lamafter. Leko Vishum Kam, Afil Be Yenechon, why be Primagodim, why there's not a pagam. Okay.